To another Preppers Fireside. I've got a full house tonight, and I know you're all thinking, who the hell was the bombardier on the intro? That is Andy. How you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good about you.
I'm good. I'm excellent. And we have Brian, not coming from us from a secret bug out location, but from a secret bunker location. How you doing, Brian?
All good, mate. All good.
Is it nice to be sat in there actually doing something?
It is. It's been a long haul to get here, though. But yeah, I'm finally nearly finished.
There's a gap in that tile behind you,
I believe we covered that when I told you to fuck off earlier.
I've just had a new member join, Neil Coulson. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member, despite your horrendous profile picture that offends me deeply.
I like it.
You would. You drink Pepsi. And Barry, the Brown Coat Prepper. How you doing, Barry?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Not so bad. Not so bad. Excited to do this, do a scenario for a change instead of just talking about the shit that's going on around the world. And thank you to everyone joining the chat. Miss Worm's in there moderating you all. She'll have some assistance there. Justin's in. Used to come into the Solar Lives a lot. So good to see you here as well. Lots of old faces, lots of new faces. Hello to you all. I can't go through them all. It's a scenario. I'll try and come to the chat as much as possible. I'd love to get your input of what you would do and what you would do differently from what the guys are doing, everything like that. And we will come to you in and out throughout it. But before we start, because it's a scenario, we need to do the Miss Worm disclaimer. So I will pop this on and you can read the bottom or listen.
Right, listen up, you lot. What you are about to watch is a thought experiment. We've dragged together the finest minds in the country, and Brian, to see how they would cope in different scenarios. These scenarios are not
Can't hear anything, mate.
and
I'm just going to throw that out
may
there.
not even exist
You can.
anywhere other
No.
than your own mind.
I can.
So pull your panties up and get a grip. Remember,
I can hear
there's
you,
no
but no
need to
anything
panic.
else.
It's not real. Yet.
Everyone else could hear it, Brian, as well as you talking over the top of it. Never mind. It's an experiment. It's a thought experiment. None of us are saying this is happening. None of it's doom and gloom, etc. It's just what would we do in the situation. So the scenario tonight, gentlemen, pay attention to your screens. Brian, if you can't hear it, you need to sort something out with your sound because here comes the scenario intro. So, power's gone out. It's I'll tell you where you all are when it happens, but it's the power's gone out. So what we're going to speak about first is initial, like the impacts, like what's happening, how you know, how you check in your resources and what you're doing in that first 0 to 6 hours. Andy, you're at home, working from home that day, happen to be. Power's all gone out. What's your first steps to check what's going on?
So my first step, mate, would be what time of the day are we on? Midday?
We're on about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. First thing I would do, mate, is ring my partner because she would be at work, and I would see what the situation is where she's at work, and I would tell her the heads. Yeah,
she said exactly the same. You can get through on the phone. The phone works, and she said the power's gone off there too.
So I would tell her to come home as soon as possible. Just leave work. I would head out of the house, and maybe 100 meters from where I am now, there's some traffic lights and like a little bit of a shopping centre. I'd head there and see what scale it is. Whether it's just because a couple of times here I've had the local workers have cut through the power lines. And the powers went off in the area, so I'll be looking to see how widespread it is. As soon as that happened, mate, I would come back, and then I would when I knew it was bad, then I would start implementing stuff in house. and I would do the 5s and 20s. Like I said on the last, so everything in the house, mate, would start getting locked down. Garage would get locked down. Things in the house would be made more secure, and then I would go back to my partner, and then if she couldn't get home, then it would be a whole different scenario, mate. 'Cause then I would have to go into pretty much the centre of Newcastle to then bring her home.
Right. Okay. We'll cross that bridge if it comes to it. Barry, you're sunbathing in the back garden, 3 o'clock in November. and 2 or 3 hours after the power's gone off, you find out with your neighbour popping the head over the fence going, is your power off too? So it's time for you to, what are you going to do now?
Okay, so first thing, grab my phone, see if there's anything popped up relating to any known blackouts or anything in the area in case it's localized, or see if there's any news anywhere regarding it being national. If the phone's working, that rules out an EMP for starters, because pretty much fry all the local electronics, I would imagine. And then, as I say, try and contact the wife, see whether she's had any information through her works as to what happens, because obviously stuff like this, there's procedures that she follows and I follow with our workplaces. After that, we've got a pre-arranged meet point. So if we do manage to contact each other, we'd head there, and then from there, head back, picking up anything that we need to on the way back, and then basically lock the house down. And at that point, really start getting ready, fill all the containers with water while there's still water in the taps, etc. We know where all the blackout kits are and power out kits are. So that's pretty much it. Until we know anything more, we just treat it like a local blackout. Don't know how long it's going to last. Take it from there.
Yeah. Brian, you're not at home. You are in the center of the nearest city doing work at the time. Everything's gone off. You're completely in a dark, shafted, literally. So you've no idea what's going on at this stage, but everything's gone off. And when you pull your phone out, that's the only light is the glow from your phone. So what's your plan right now?
This could be slightly lethal depending what I'm doing. If I'm currently testing a lift, then I'm on the car top. And,
whatever you're doing, it wasn't as lethal. So you're alive and the lift's
right.
still staying where it is.
Right, then I'm stuck.
Okay.
So first things first, I need to get out the lift shaft. So depending where it stopped in the landings, I might be able to do something dangerous and climb out on the landing, which we don't do because that's totally dangerous, and I'd never do that if anybody from my employer's listening.
Disclaimer.
Get out, have a look in the building, talk to people, what's happening, see if we can get any information. Phone my wife and go, I've just had to climb out a lift shaft, lots of swearing as usual, and see what's happening at home or her workplace. And until we know anything more than that, as far as I'm concerned at that point, it's just another run-of-the-mill power cut. Nothing to get wet in the bed about.
Okay. Andy, back to you. So luckily, everyone's just pottering around Newcastle going, oh, look, the lights are out. This is funny. This is hilarious. So the missus has managed to get in the car, get out of the city and get on the way back to you. So you know that she's on the way back, however that's with a friend's car or with her, whatever it is. So it's down to you now. What are you doing around the house? What extra preps are you making in case this is something more than it is? Or what information are you trying to check?
So the information, mate, I would try to be getting off. I've got a wind up radio, just purely as a little backup. I would turn that on, see what's going on news. Check Discord, because we've got people all around the country now, see how bad it is around other parts of the country. I would be implementing my preps from the stash that I have. So I would get out I would be putting my lanterns about, my LED strips about, getting them ready with different kinds of power banks, setting my candles and things up. I would be getting my gas stove out, using that to get stuff ready, for tea. Trying to call around friends and family, make sure they're okay. What's the situation like where they live? Because I've got no family up here in Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be. I've got a gorilla box. I'll have to show it one time on the live stream. I've got a gorilla box in my that I got from Afghan. That's in my games room, prep room, whatever you want to call it. And inside there, mate, is all the stuff that I would use if something went wrong. Without going into too much detail.
It comes with its own gorilla that Andy's trained to defend his house. There we go.
It's like Frog Monkey.
and there's something that connected to that gorilla box as well, mate, is a mindset. I know that sounds mad, but once that gorilla box is opened and that's implemented, then we go to there's a different mindset involved then, in terms of how serious security is taken, how serious preps are taken. Are we going to be? How am I going to implement rationing? How bad is it looking? All those types of things would be taken into consideration. And then once my partner got home, then it would be a case of, right, this is the plan. This is what's happening. We'll ride out the first 24 hours, see what's happening, and then go from there. Okay.
Well, we're already in hour 6 at the moment. Barry, round your house, you're in there. The information you've got coming through is the usual mainstream media going, "Oh, there's a fault," and then some other channel going, "Oh, it's an atmospheric disturbance." We've heard that before, and stuff like that. But you've no idea. There's no credible information. Canadian Prepper has come on and said that we're all under attack from Zimbabwe unicorns. So you've literally got no information. So what are you doing around the house preps wise? Are you doing anything water wise, sanitation, anything like that at this stage? It's only 6 hours in, mind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've already got water preps in the house as it is, but I'd be doing additional sort of quick clean of the bath, fill that up. Any other containers that are in the house as well, fill that up, because you don't know how long any pumps are going to last pumping the mains water supply through. Electrics wise, all my power banks I'm charged up and ready to go should I need them. Another location of my low power lights, etc. It'd just be a case of sitting tight until the wife gets home and then seeing what information she's managed to pick up from the control room where she works. And then obviously with what I've picked up from colleagues, etc., we then take it as is this a serious issue, or is this sort of going to be an extended power cut? There's no point in thinking this is the end of the world right now till we got more information.
Yeah, I'll come to you shortly, chat. I am starring comments. I won't be able to get to all of them. There's 145 of you in here listening and chatting, so try and put it in capitals if it's something important, or you've got the option of the super chat as well, which automatically stars it, but I'll try and pick up what I can. Brian, we're coming into the 6th hour of no power, and the wife keeps ringing saying, "Come and fix this power. It's a nightmare. Can't do anything." And every time she's speaking in the last hour or so, the signal keeps dropping off and then picking up from another mast and then dropping off. So the signal's starting to get sketchy.
Well, after 6 hours, I'd be home. My area, 5.
Right. Okay. So it's going to take you about 8 or 9 hours to get home because it's absolutely gridlocked. Everyone's everywhere. But let's say you're heading home. That's fine.
Well,
are you issuing any instructions to home?
Well, at the moment, it's information stage, not the panic stage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything other than the usual confused crap. If it's the nearest town / city that I work in, it's 3 miles from here.
Mm-hmm.
So within 6 hours, I'm home, whether the car's stuck or I've walked it.
Yeah. Okay.
And at that point, it's talking to neighbours, talking to my brother on the phone, probably laughing, to be honest, mate, that I'd probably be teasing my sister that she hadn't got a power bank, and I'd been telling her for ages, and then laughing and teasing her.
Still,
and winding her up.
still quite light-hearted at that stage.
Yeah, because we don't know anything. It's just another run-of-the-mill power cut. So, to be honest, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting at home, making sure
Okay.
everyone's as it should be, and I'm not panicking.
Okay, everyone's pretty chilled at this stage, apart from Andy and his gorilla. So let's pull up a few of the comments. John C says emergency lights checked, fire extinguisher at the ready. Check in with members of my family and friends in the immediate group. Go on Discord to see how broad the blackout is. Check fuse box, says Caroline Wynn. Then neighbours. See if possible. Phone the electric company. Yeah, if you've still got internet on your phone and stuff like that, you can check if it's down. You've usually got, if it's just a normal fault, it'll tell you. Kelly says if the grid down, there may not be mobile reception. There would be for a time afterwards. Lots of backup batteries, stuff like that on cell phone towers. So you would have it for a while, depending on where you were. And people in more of a populated, built-up area would have it for longer, because if one goes down, you disconnect and connect to another mast that might still be up. So, World Survivalist, confirm the situation, radio, news, turn off and unplug devices, make contact with partner, get my power outage kit out at the ready. See, no one said that, but he's right. Unplug and turn off devices, because even if it's a short-term power cut, brownout, something like that, when it comes back on, you can get a surge, can damage things, can set things on fire. Great point, World Survivalist. Thank you very much for that one. If you have solar battery backup, turn things off so you don't reveal that you've still got electricity. Brian will have his Christmas lights turned on going, ha, ha, ha.
Mate, I've got the curtains open by this point and the lights on.
Delta Mike Down says, are landlines still on separate circuit? If not, landlines fallback used to be call boxes. Is that still viable? Don't know. I haven't used a landline for that long, but I expect they would still be, though, because they're powered through the grid, right?
They
have their own power. Yeah. Well, even if you go to a payphone near me, it's a goddamn library, bookshare, or defibrillator now. Taffy Nige, Brian, has someone given you a Glasgow kiss? Have you caught the sun on your nose?
After that, I feel the sweary word coming along.
Grid down means there would be no internet or mobile reception. No, like I say, your mobile would stay up for a while, stuff like that. It's not directly connected to the grid. No grid, no net, so useless. Your friends and fam live up the road, no contact, says the Watchman. You'd have a period where you could still contact them. I live near a small office building and had a kind of server system as a tenant. They had 2 diesel Jennies each side of my condo, noisy dang Caterpillar generators. If somebody can tap in. Barry, you're on this. I don't know why you're putting super sticks on, but thank you anyway.
Every bit helps.
Every bit does help. And Chronicles, a £10 one there. Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. And Great Gala, make sure the Pepsi is secure. Taffy Nige with a £20. I assume I can only see the number. I assume it's some sort of dancing leprechaun or something. Not saying it, obviously. I just don't know what they are. Right, 24 to 48 hours. Right, so we've passed a full day. Still no power. TV's signal is on emergency only, right? You go to the news channels, nothing's being broadcast, emergency only, sky's down. So there's literally nothing coming through on the TV. And yeah, no power's back on. So, Brian, is it time to panic yet? Are you still laughing and joking at this stage?
I'm being a bit more cautious because that's unprecedented in recent history for a power cut of that duration where I live, certainly. So that's unusual. prior to that, if the net was still established, we'd have been talking on Discord, and we could find out nationally who's got power, if anybody, and what's been happening, and try and get some word on the word for the ground, what's happening in other parts of the country. So we'll have a rough idea that everybody's pretty much in the same boat. That in itself is really, really unusual. So, yeah. The problem is, if we've now lost comms, that's when people freak out and lose their mind. So, the security situation is going to take a massive uptick at this point, or should.
Right. Okay. So, are you physically doing anything around the house differently at this stage? Or are you still just information checking?
Both. Certainly at night time, somebody's going to be up at night time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be taking turns and other security precautions.
Right. Okay. Barry, it's been 24 hours. It's the next day. You've given up sunbathing in November. It's just not working for you. So what's the plan? What's the situation now?
Right. Well, depend upon what the what information we had at the last chance of getting anything.
It was unusual because you've had the news channel running pretty much throughout the night because you want to know what's going on, and mid broadcast it just stopped, and it went to the emergency screen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So at that point, I'll be thinking, right, okay, we need to step things up a little bit. So we're fairly close to the local town centre, so we'd head there, get a few more preps in while we could do, return home, make sure everything's secure, check the perimeter on the property, just basically just step things up a notch. I'm still not panicking massively at this moment. I know that the emergency broadcast system is unprecedented, as Brian said, in these times. It could just be a test. Things have taken longer than that before now. But now I would probably be thinking, yeah, maybe there is something seriously wrong. Try and get some more information from the neighbours as well, see whether they've heard anything as well. We're quite close-knit in this locality, so
yeah. Andy, 24 hours. Are you tapping into all the power banks? Have you got any energy left, or are you living in the dark at the moment?
No, I think I would be on a nighttime, mate. I would definitely be like Brian said. I'd definitely be staggering on during the nighttime. I definitely have a nighttime routine, daytime routine. Where I live, mate, in the cul-de-sac, the square where I live, I think me and my partner are the youngest people. Everyone else, mate, is probably 60 plus. So I would check in on them, see if they're okay, see if they had heard anything. But if I'm not getting comms from any of you lot, I very much doubt any of them are. I can't imagine them being as tech savvy as we are here. And then I would venture out, so maybe 800 meters from me, I've got one of the massive Tesco Extras, which is huge.
Yeah.
And some of the shops and bits and bobs. So if it was down for over 24 hours, mate, I'd be venturing over there to see what the situation was. Was it still secure? Are people still trying to get supplies out of there? What's the situation like on the ground? Are the tills still operating, or is it like what someone said on Discord, where it was costing you €2? Oh, he's gone. It was costing you €2 for a bottle of water, and you had to pay with £50 note. I would be seeing if all that's going on. If it was off for 24 hours, mate, and there was nothing being circulated, like Brian said, being unprecedented, I've been in a situation where I've been in countries where it doesn't take 24 hours for things to go seriously bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's people in the chat, mate, saying, I'm a bit eager and I'm going DEFCON 4, but I've seen how bad things can get and how quickly they can get that way. So if it was over 24 hours, I would be starting to worry, and I would be implementing probably more than what most people in the chat would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that in a readiness side of things. I don't think it would be chaos or anarchy at this stage. It's the lack of communication that's the problem. Now, what I'm interested is in Spain, when it happened, Portugal and that, the water went off very quickly, but nobody's talked about extra water supplies at the 24-hour stage. Barry?
I'd already said I'd started topping up my water and everything right from day one.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But is anyone, I mean, like filling the bath, etc., anything like that? No.
Yeah.
Brian's like, no, I don't need water. It's got Pepsi.
I'm having a bath of Pepsi.
A bath of Pepsi. Right. Let's pull out a couple of the comments. Sorry, like I say, I can't get to all of them. Really do appreciate the super chats that were in there that weren't even chats. Spend cash at local shops to get a few more supplies. I've always said this. I think I would go to my local thing, not the supermarkets where the chaos is happening, but my local shop would be fine, and he'll take cash up until the point, forever. If the water is still on, go and fill up everything you can, says Apocalypse Now. And it sounds daft, and you might think I'm crazy, but when all that stuff started happening with Spain and Portugal the other day, I went upstairs and bleached my bath and cleaned it, ready in case I needed to fill it. Not that it's not clean, just, to a drinking standard, I was bleaching it.
I wasn't going to say anything. But...
Yeah, I needed to get some real corrosion off, so I just poured what Pepsi I could find in it, and it just melted most of it. So, if grid was down, how would we be able to check Discord?
Mesh.
Yeah, you've got there's mesh networks, there's different ways of contacting and stuff like that. It's whether servers would still be accessible via mobile internet and stuff like that. It's all going to be maybe possibly, but there's a chance you're right, it could all be gone completely. If you are one of your family have Starlink, they could plug it into the power bank and keep contact that way. Yeah, there you go. So you can still have internet that way as well, if that's still available, depending on what's happened. Supplies, check water and self-defense, check security and watch rotor sorted. Come on, I'm bloody South Wales. Cheers, Taffy Nige. Start to do normal things like washing dishes, hand washing clothing, etc. Don't let things start to build up. Advice from watching people who have lived through storms in the USA. Yeah, it is important to stay on top of hygiene and sanitation at this point. Anyway, right, we're gonna.
Mike, just one on what that guy was saying there.
Yeah.
About washing dishes and stuff. For that reason, mate, for the initial maybe, I think I've got it for maybe if something bad did happen for the initial 4 weeks, I've got a stash of paper plates.
Oh, I
would just eat off them, mate, and bin them.
Yeah,
no way on this planet am I wasting water on washing dishes.
I've got a stack of they're not paper. Do you know like what they take away, the foam takeaway things are?
Yeah.
I've got a load of plates like
mate,
that, and then I've got a load of plastic knives and forks as well. So yeah, it's a good idea, even if it is a short-term thing, because like you say, you don't want stuff like that building up anywhere, right? It's just much more convenient. We're going to skip ahead with the help of Miss Worm now. Okay, so pay attention.
At first, people expected the power to come back within hours or days, but it's been a week here in the UK. Supermarkets are emptied in a frenzy, cash points don't work, and card payments are non-existent. Urban centres begin to descend into chaos. Mobile networks collapse as backup power drains. Water treatment plants fail, leading to contamination. Emergency services are overwhelmed, and city dwellers begin to flee into the countryside. Radio is the last remaining communication, with some ham operators broadcasting survival tips.
There you go. Don't forget to check out the Preppers Fireside on ham radio after the apocalypse, where we'll be broadcasting. We've got a week. So we've had a bit of passage in time, but you can see there what's going on around you. How does this immediately affect your situation and your plans now, Barry?
Okay, so I'm still checking in on the local neighbours, making sure that they're all okay, or see whether anybody's actually got out of Dodge already. Because, as Miss Worm rightly said there's people going to start fleeing out of the country now. Again, I'm stepping up security a bit more now. A couple of the ground floor windows would be boarded up by now. some of the grounds. They've also had some of their security beefed up. There's a couple of trees that have been felled to give a clearer view from a longer distance as well, should the house need defending. Every other day as well, I'm probably doing a stock take as to what I've still got and what's running low, if anything, and thinking about where I can top up my next lot of supplies from.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning as well, the taps have run dry at this point. Whatever water is left in your house is just trapped in the system, in the radiators and in the tank if you happen to have one. Brian, situation's dramatically changed. It's no longer a laughing matter 7 days in. What's the plan?
Well, this time, been knocking everybody's door in the village, proposing an idea. So after day 7, I would have hoped they would have listened and we've bunged up all the external sewer points and started digging latrines and piss tubes for basically the gents. Security situation needs sorted out. Several big lads, making sure the kids are a bit kept busy. People need to be kept busy, and there'll be plenty of things to keep them busy. Hopefully, aspirationally, we'll have went to the local supermarket before it was raided and sequestered supplies and gathered everything that we could and cooked the fresh stuff up first and start to squirrel stuff away. There's an artesian spring about a quarter of a mile inside the village. Get water rotas sorted out. That's pretty much where we'd be, hopefully.
So you've already got the startings of a community there and getting on the community front straight away, even after a week. Is that right?
On my own, I would just flounder, family or not. You can't beat everybody. You need help. I could help, and I would need help. So better together.
Okay. Andy, the gorilla box is loose. 7 days in. Obviously, the missus got home safe, no problems and stuff like that. What's your situation at the moment? Because have you started to be like Brian and get the community side of things started, or Barry, the Good Samaritan, checking on the neighbours? What are you doing at the moment?
I would still be checking in with people, mate, but there would be twofold. It would be to see if people are okay, but it would also be, so I've got in my prep room, I've got a map of the area, and I will be ticking off who's still here and who's left. So I know what houses are vacant, potential houses that somebody could come and move into if somebody's gone. And also, in the case of if it gets further down the line and they have gone, I would go in and see what they've left. Is there any food left? Have they left any bottles of water? Whatever you could use if it was in that type of situation. I'd be the same as Bri. I would have, because I have quite a big back garden. A latrine would be in the back garden. I wouldn't be wasting water, flushing toilets and things that would be set up in the back garden. And then I've also got I suppose, mate, it would be a stream in the summer, but come winter, it's a pretty fast flowing river. So I would be going there daily to retrieve water, and I would bring it back here, and I would be filtering it.
How are you doing that? How are you transporting that?
So it would be, I have got, I can't remember what they're called now, but you know those plastic, like water bladders, I suppose they are, that you would see in a camelback type maybe.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few of them, so I would go down the river, fill them up, and then when I bring them back, I'd put them through the gravity fed water filters that I've got.
Yeah.
Any filters and that type of thing. I probably would have been. I know people think I'm a bit extreme, but I would have been implementing rationing, mate, from probably day 5. I wouldn't be eating 3 meals a day now, and I wouldn't be going mental, drinking 10 bottles of water a day either. Everything would be rationed, and I would be moving forward that way. And like Brian said, security, mate, would be my first port of call.
How far's the river, the stream?
Ooh, I would say, mate, that would probably be, mate, the riskiest part of the thing for me, because it's probably a mile away. So it's a mile there and a mile back.
I'm thinking energy as well. If you're rationing, your energy levels are down, you've got to carry a lot of water.
Yep.
So Lots
It's
of
one of those things.
consideration.
It is, mate. But it's one of those things where if you're 7 days into this, your mindset has to shift onto I'm going to be tired, I'm going to be hungry, I'm going to be thirsty, but things need to be done. That's the mindset that you have to be in when the power's been off for 7 days.
Is it still just yourself and the missus?
Yep, just us two, mate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have anyone. I wouldn't have anyone coming at the house. To be honest with you,
No.
I would have people, and it would be from afar. But I wouldn't have anyone coming into my house. And just one of that as well. As soon as this happened, all the curtains would be drawn, and nobody would be able to see into my house to see what I had or what I was doing.
Right. So we got some quite different perspectives here. I really do like it. Brian, community front. How do you balance OPSEC and enforcement and stuff like that versus community cooperation? How does that play for you? Because there's a risk in reaching out to people, right?
Hello, I lost you there.
Thought you were just deep in thought. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. It went all robotic-y. Sorry, mate. I lost the last couple of seconds.
No worries. How do you balance enforcement with community cooperation? So how reaching out to community people obviously has a risk. How do you balance that with keeping your own stuff secure as well as building a community?
I would always husband and keep one counsel, what I've got to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But you can certainly motivate people by need. So you'll always have the naysayers within the first 3 or 4 days. You're overreacting, nothing's going to happen. But when they see you in day 4 or 5 coming back from your local Tesco's with bootloads or like a centipede, everybody else that you managed to co-op to help, full of stuff, and they realise that they've got nothing, well, they might want to join sooner rather than later. But as time goes on, the people within the village I would trust to an extent. Mm-hmm. You know people after 40, 50 years, you're living in the same place, who are and what they are, what their trades are, their backgrounds, their skill set. And also they're better keeping them busy, because people that have got a lot of time on their hands do stupid shit.
Barry, from you're checking on the neighbours from that early stage. Is that something that you would then pull into like a community pool thing? Say, listen, we need to start eating meals together, or putting resources together. Or are you still keeping people at arm's length at that stage?
Strange to say, but probably a bit of a combination of both. Recently, we've had a bit of a turnaround in a few houses where I am. So there's still a few unknowns living nearby. But the sort of people who've been here sort of like 20, 30 plus years, definitely be checking in on those ones, because they tend to be the older generation. And as Andy has said, it's kind of twofold. Not only are you looking out for them, but you're also looking out for the fact that if they have gone, have they left anything that's of use to you now? And obviously, if you're on a watch on a night time and you start seeing lights going on in that house and you know it's empty, you know you've got a potential problem ahead of you, and you need to be ready to act at it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I'm curious with your situation, Andy, at this stage. Brian's obviously always got somebody on stag at this stage, watching out, but there's only the two of you. So how are you managing the nights?
I would just do night routine, mate, just because I'm used to it. I've got experience in it. So I would have my partner sleeping through the night. Then I would go to sleep during the day.
Right.
And her routine would be just like a normal routine, like work during the day, sleep during the night. And mine would be the opposite way around.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I've got my notes here. Brian, what's the long-term community plan, or is that not even being thought about at this stage? Are you still just everyone's in their own houses?
Depends what the security situation's like, to be fair. After 7 days, people have died, whether it's in hospitals or old folks' homes or early stage public disorder. People make no bones about it. People have died. So the security situation will dictate how quickly things evolve. But aspirationally, the village, the school is on a hill. The church is on the same hill. There's only one road in, and it goes out at the other end. One road in is over a bridge. The other end is a single road out. So you could control the flow of traffic relatively easy by simply parking a couple of cars across the roads. If things became a major security issue, aspirationally the school for central feeding in their kitchens, it's in an elevated position, it's gated, it's got a single road up to it, you've got a good vantage point, and if you cleared the trees, you would have a killing ground all the way up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long-term solution.
Right. Barry, water's been off for a while at this stage. Are we starting to worry about sewage and the neighbours flushing stuff that's not going away? And what's the plan for that?
I'm not so bothered about it flowing back to my house because my house is the highest in the neighbourhood. So everything from me is going to flow downhill. I have got one of the toilet bungs to stop anything sort of flowing back this way. And if need be, I know where the local manhole covers are to the sewage, etc. So if need be, I can block mine off at that point there so everything flows past. As regarding water, I've got 2 supplies that I can get to from here that are within 1.5 miles. So, however many trips it takes, I can, little and often, I can replenish the water butts that I've got out the back that are cleaned. So yeah, water wise at this moment we're okay, but I've got the facility to filter everything. I've got some life straws. I've got one of the life jerry cans as well, which will clean about 5 or 10,000 litres, something like that, and spare filters just in case as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Last one, Andy. It's November, luckily, in the UK, so we've got an abundance of water falling from the big fluffy things in the sky. Are you set up for catching water? And if you're not, would that be something you'd be setting up at this stage?
Yes, mate. I've got the water butt set up off the side of the house and also off the garage.
Okay.
So there would be, and I think there may be, the water butts may be 80 or 100 litres. So I've got 2 of them. So that'd be 200 litres.
So you've got a nice source there anyway.
Yeah, and I must have, I don't know how many bottles of water, mate, I would have in the garage. Hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. How could people collect it if they've not got pre-set up these butts at this stage?
You could put pans and that in your garden.
Yeah, any sort of container, basically.
Yep, on top of your flat roofs, mate. You could even do like reverse tap setup, where you could just set a tap up and let the rain collect in the middle, and then it'll eventually just go down into a big pyramid shape, reverse pyramid, and collect water that way. There's loads of ways to collect water, mate. If you're struggling.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, let's go to the comments before we skip ahead in time again. Right. Most local shops, says Cough Mixture, will close their doors if it hits the fan. They will serve their own community first. Worth remembering, 3 long wheelbase vans can empty a shop in the cover of darkness. I think in the first couple of days at least, I know my local shop would stay open. He's done it before when the power's been out. We'll have some candles, cash only, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think I'd be going out after a week anyway, but it's good to know if you've got 3 vans handy. Rob B, any of you blokes use CB radio? Any active users of us? No. I think I own CB radios. I think Brian does. I'm pretty sure. Do both of you guys have CB radios at all? No?
No, it's been a long time since I've used one.
Right. Brian, you're on ham radio, aren't you? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got the mandatory Beifong and all the other variations of that stuff.
Yeah, but they can pick up CB as well, can't they? It's just about
Yeah.
the channels
Well,
and stuff
to,
like
be,
that.
to be fair, guys, I've got the bay thing on that. I'm just
Yeah,
yeah.
got the ham radios.
Yeah.
And if you're part of our network, you've also got a plan for it. UK has no power. No, it's a scenario. Read the bottom. Don't panic. We're not spreading misinformation. Cough Mixture said, where is the nearest stream to your home? Do you know? Well, Andy said a mile and a half. A mile. Barry said a mile and a half. Brian?
Quarter a mile. It's an artesian spring.
Mile. Oh, nice. I've got a canal. I've drank it before and I'm still here, so it's okay. But yeah, I do know where the fresh rivers are as well and stuff like that. So it is good to know. Local knowledge is key. Dry bag's good to carry a lot of water. 1 litre equals 1 kilogram. Yes, just remember, if you're carrying a bunch of empty bags down to the river, once you fill them up, it's going to weigh. So make sure you're not carrying too much. A good thing to get, which you can pick up cheap after the summer when everyone's tried camping once and then give up at car boot sales, is them water transporters. They're like a barrel, but you get a bar with them and you wheel them along. I can't remember the actual Aquaroll. There you go. Thank you, Barry. That's a great one for people to get if they're back and forth with water. Jess Pixie, why would anyone eat 3 meals a day unless they do a heavy duty jobs and go to the gym? I mean, I thought 3 meals a day was pretty standard. Brian's like 3 meals is before 12. I don't know.
I feel personally attacked right now. I'm just going to keep that out there. You're picking a fat guy night. Thanks.
I mean, maybe she's talking in this situation. Andy's implemented rationing. Barry, Brian, have you at this stage, or are you living like kings on the rations, like no problems?
No, I'd have implemented rationing by now. Again, people are going to start looking at you if you're walking round and you've got the most energy. You're still carrying the weight because the weight's going to start dropping off people. You want to try and blend in as much as possible, not draw attention to yourself.
Right, Brian.
Given, hopefully, we've already got what we can from Tesco. It's a week down the line. Still a week down the line, is it?
Yeah, we've passed a week, so we're 1 to 2 weeks, let's say.
So we've got a central collection point in the school. That'll be to distribute the food. There's a local farmer about half a mile that way. I know nothing about farms or animal husbandry or crops. He needs to get his door knocked for 3 reasons. 1, his knowledge, his location, his cattle, and other things that farmers generally keep on hand.
Farmers one. I got you.
Yeah, that's the one. Both go with a bang. He's an asset that you need to get on board. Him and people like him, because he's got essential skill sets, and also he's got food and 4 legs. So that's something that needs to be done. And then they need to be brought into your rationing as well.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that people are starting rationing such early on. You think, as preppers, it's about maintaining a lifestyle. So you'd think people would just be eating, but it's good that you've all got this forethought. It's probably because we're only just started the scenario and you know it's going to go get a lot worse. Camping trolley or even a wheelie bin for transporting water you've collected could make it easier. Wheelie bins are great for that, and they're also a great collection for the water butts, like we said. Even if you want to like knock the downspout off your drain, pop that into the wheelie bin. That's going to gather a lot more as well that way. Clean it first, but clean it afterwards as well. Kurs 10, I've been wondering how I could stop sewage backflow. How do you block the U-bend? What's the thing called, Brian? It's the actual name or a brand, isn't it?
There's different permutations of it. It's basically an air bladder you pump up in the pipe to stop backflow in the soil pipe. However, if you walk to the end of the street, don't forget that only stops it becoming a problem for you immediately. Your neighbour's problems will become your problem, whether they're uphill, up from you, down from you, or whatever. in very short order. The dysentery and cholera respect no borders. So everybody needs to be on the same page within the first couple of weeks, or you're all literally in the shit. So go to the separators and traps at the end of the street, block them up with whatever you've got. If that's lumps of clay that you're bunging in it, that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be fancy. But if it's a system-wide issue, it needs to be everybody on board on the same page, or you're all going to suffer.
Yeah. I mean, I've got literally the polar opposite problem that Barry has, where there's a row of houses and I'm this one. So I'm the first one to drown in fecal matter.
And they shit again, mate.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But this is why Bug Out gets more and more appealing for me. At the same time as this going on, Brian, some of your community building has been successful, but there's also looting happening. You've noticed the next morning, even you heard noises in the night. You weren't going to risk it going out there. Next morning, 2 of the houses have been broken into, not very subtly at all, and raided. Same happening near you, Barry and Andy. How's this affect your security? And are you going to then move out, or is bugging out even an option at this stage, Brian?
Well, we've done something wrong then at that point, if that's happened, because they've already breached the perimeter, or somebody who's supposed to be staying awake and keeping an eye on things and on fire watch has maybe nodded off, but something's gone wrong. If that's happened, something's gone wrong. So we need to review that. What went wrong? Were you sleeping? If you did, you're on a warning. After you do it again, you're out. You and your family are gone because you're risking everybody's life. But something's gone wrong. I wouldn't be leaving. You just need to fix what caused it to happen in the first place, because they're not just protecting the security, they're making sure nobody's house goes up in flames as well.
Right. Okay. Andy, same's happening near you. A couple of the houses have, you don't know who's done it, you don't know where it's come from, but some of the houses have started to get broken into. What's this do for your security situation?
I would think I would go, and if that was happening, mate, I would find, because like I said before, I would have that map where all the empty houses were.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, mate, I would set up a little OP, possibly in the street. So if they've done the first 3 houses, I'm going to assume they're going to come back to do more. So I would set up maybe an OP in the end house, and I would watch to see how many people there are. Is the 2 of them? Is the 3? Is the 5? Depending on how many people were, mate, is depending on how drastic the steps to be were taken, mate. But I would need some form of intelligence before I pulled the plug and made a decision. So my initial option would be, I would go into one of those vacant houses close to where it was happening, set up and watch, see what they were taking, see how many there was.
Okay.
Go back to that place, then take it from there.
I'll give you that intelligence shortly. Barry, same's happening near you.
Okay, so as both the lads have said, you've got to know what was hit and what was taken, if anything was taken. It might have just been some opportunists looking for something. But again, like Brian said, your perimeter's been breached. You've got to review your security. Do you need to rein that security in, make yourself a tighter knit community to defend, etc.? Was anybody hurt? Have you lost any members of your community? Is something that you need to address as well. Because again, that's then going to hit morale, and that's going to have a knock-on effect to everybody.
Right. Okay. So that night you're all setting up some sort of observation, and what you see, the best you can, under the cover of darkness and weather and stuff like that. It is still November, remember. You could see what looks to be 7 or 8 people, look like 30-odd-year-old males kind of thing, all carrying some sort of bat or blade, and one guy pointing and telling them where to go. Looks like he's carrying what could only be described in the cover of darkness as 2 broom handles taped together. So nobody knows what that is, but that's what you spot. That night, they do take a lot of stuff out of one of the houses and you see them hightail it out there, and the way that they've come in and gone out, you spot that. Next morning, what's the decisions? Brian, start with you.
We still seem to have an ongoing security situation that people with one potentially got a firearm, the rest were certainly armed, and they walked straight through the perimeter without a challenge or anything happening. Again, we've got an ongoing security problem that's went wrong.
You're going to fix it. You're going to fix it.
It should have been fixed the first time. If to fix it the second time, somebody's walking with them.
So with that in mind, any sort of housing area, you don't have to describe exactly where you are, but any sort of housing area, whether that be in a state or a small village or stuff like that, has ginnels, has abandoned buildings, has little weird walkways, nooks and things. How could you possibly cover all of that?
You wouldn't even try to, because people in the outlying perimeter of the village, you don't have the bodies to effectively patrol that or secure it. It's not realistic. Like it or not, some people are going to need to relocate back up to the school and the local church, and that's where they're going to need to move to. So the outlying perimeter is going to need to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to raid them, that's fine. The biggest risk with that is fire hazard if they set them in fire. But ultimately, that's no breach in your perimeter. They've already been abandoned and everything of value taken out. But you can't possibly hold everything, and nor should you try.
Right. Okay. So you're kind of just like making it tighter, making it more secure that way, less areas to cover.
Consolidate to the church and the school. You've got centralised cooking facilities.
Mm-hmm.
You've got slope positions on all four sides. You could make a go of it there at night time. You don't have to stay there all day,
mm-hmm.
but you can push out during the day, but you would retire there for night time.
Mm-hmm. Andy, that's what you spied from your OP. Next morning, decisions need to be made. It's not something you could take on yourself necessarily, and it's not worth the risk. So as just the fact there's only two of you there and these raids are getting closer and closer to your house, what's the decisions at this point?
I think I would start diversifying my portfolio in the new world, and I would start to spread my preps equally amongst maybe 5 or 6 different locations. And what I would do is I would start spreading them back over. So say, for example, the threat is coming this way. I would start that way as they're coming along during whatever they're doing. And then I would dogleg round. And then I would go to where they've already been, where the likelihood of them searching again is quite low. And I would wait till they've worked their way through my area and moved up the next estate.
High risk and a lot of work to move all the supplies, though, right?
No, not potentially. Cause if what point are we on? What point are we on in the story now? How far are we on?
About just over 2 weeks.
So I probably would have started to shift things out anyway.
Okay.
Into some of the houses that I've already marked off that are empty. So I would have started to diversify stuff anyway when I had the room. So I would have started to move stuff anyway. Mm-hmm. At some point, I'm going to have to put something in place, I think, to scare people off. Now, right. People can use their imagination as to what those things would be. But at some point, mate,
Scarecrow with bleached blonde hair in a Newcastle shirt.
Exactly.
You've got it wrong, mate. Do you know what it is? I had a vision of the Wizard of Oz, and Andy shouting, "Fly my pretties," and the gorillas just running out his house and eating everybody.
Put in the chat your suggestions that Andy can do to scare away people.
Big Brother's my last resort.
Barry, this is happening near you as well. What's the security situation there, and how are you going to either fix, remedy, or avoid this?
Where I am, there's a central block of houses that I think by now we will have probably moved everybody into for sleeping purposes, cooking, etc. As Andy said, maybe it's also time to up the ante on the defence, etc. putting a few things in place to maybe dissuade people from coming any further than what they already have. Double up as well, I think, on the amount of personnel watching at night, because obviously if they breach the perimeter once, twice, they're going to chance it a third time, aren't they? So you're going to have to be ready for them when they're coming back next time.
Right. Okay. So, and how, with that in mind, and the chance of them coming back is high because they've been working the way towards like the houses you're in.
Yeah.
How are you going to? How's that security going to enforce anything? Is it strength in numbers? Is it just having more people and scaring them off, or are you thinking of moving around like Andy's doing?
No, like I say, there's a main block of houses that everybody could move into, which straight away cuts down the number of points of attack from the outside. There's windows all round. It's just a case of upping the security, but like you say, safety in numbers as well. Double up the amount of people on your watches. Try and use scare tactics as well, psychological tactics. Like looters will be shot, kind of thing. I know it's not ideal, but sometimes just
someone said heads on pikes earlier on.
Saw that, yeah. I mean, as nasty as it seems, I think by now as well, if you've had a few of your older members of the community pass on, you might want to be thinking about maybe recycling their bodies as deterrents. I'll let your imagination work at that one.
Nice. Whatever couldn't go in the stew, eh?
2 weeks in and Barry's making skin suits.
We're all sane, I promise. Moving swiftly on from skin suits, let's go to let's pull up just a couple of chats and then we'll push the timeline along. I recommend Guardline's smart home security systems, weatherproof wireless driveway alarm system with receiver, one sensor for property protection, no affiliation. It did read like an advert, but thank you for that. Really appreciated. Would others use wheelie bins from empty houses to store water? Definitely. Yeah. Use what you can. Definitely. 100%. Make sure they're empty. The houses, not the wheelie bins. Homemade paintball landmines without the paintball, says Paul Thomas, for your suggestions for you there, Andy. Throw trash and waste all over the front entryway and make it look like the dwelling was already raided. Very grey man, that one. I think that works more, I think, in Andy's situation, where he's only worrying about him and his partner, whereas with the other guys, with the community involved, you can't really grey man the whole community, so you've got to go down the forced security route. Let's push time on with Miss Worm.
1 month after the event, the government's emergency fuel reserves are rationed for hospitals and the armed forces. The army struggles to maintain order in major cities, but is stretched thin. Looting turns into organised raids. People are starting to resort to desperate tactics for water and food, and disease is spreading faster than a pandemic as people pay the price. Water becomes the new currency as wells, rivers and springs are guarded like treasure. The knowledge of do-it-yourself water purification becomes a lifeline.
So, a couple of points in that one. We saw a four-legged friend and then it snapped to a shot of some cut-up meat. I wasn't suggesting at all that we vet the cat. But people may resort to things like that. Brian, you have pets. You don't prep directly for your pets, but they're involved with your preps, right? So how's things going with them? What's the situation with them? How are they either being utilised or looked after at this stage?
They will be fed off the scraps of and that's pretty much how that will go. That may cause digestive problems further down the line, but it's what it is. They will eat what we eat, and they'll eat when we eat.
Are they utilised for security?
Oh God, no! My dogs would run away with you if you rubbed their belly. So would that.
You want Brian's supplies? Just rub his belly.
I'll do a lot of shit for Pepsi. But no, my
Wow.
dogs are not guard dogs. They're they'll go with a robber.
So is that sentiment going to be echoed throughout your community? Everyone's allowed to keep the pets despite it taken from food supplies and things like that?
You know, it's a tough one. It's a soft spot for me, dogs. So
It is for a lot of
Head-
people. That's why it's a difficult question.
head says one thing and heart says something else. Whilst there's still food, whilst rationing still coping with the food need, those hard choices can be kicked further down the track.
Hmm.
There might come a time that you need to make that choice, but I don't think we're there yet.
Right. Okay. And you've got to consider protection for people's animals, and they must be informed that other people might see that cat as a snack, so keep it in the house, right?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the cats, obviously with the sanitation issue, the cats are going to be valuable on their own, purely for vermin control for a start. I mean,
Yeah.
the cats will be worth their weight in gold for keeping the potential pests down, rats, infestations of mice and things. So, yeah, let the cats run roaming free, but people would need to be explained to, if you kill a cat, then you're probably going to be leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Barry, any pets to consider in this situation?
No, I'm okay with that. I've got no pets at all. The wife is pressuring me to get a dog.
Make
I
it a
can't
guard
do it.
dog, not a belly rubbing dog like Brian's.
Oh, no. Ridiculously small animal.
Handbag dog.
I mean, if anything, if we did have a dog and it was that kind of size, the damn thing would yap at anything anyhow. So potentially it's a security asset, because if somebody misses somebody breaching a perimeter and all of a sudden one of the dogs starts going crazy, one of the neighbours' dogs or the one that we theoretically own, that could give you the edge on or the jump on somebody before they get it on you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is the pets a consideration for yourself?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I had a big 50-kilo German Shepherd up until, and I lost him, mate, maybe 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a massive part of my preps,
Mm-hmm.
because even though to us in the house he was soft, everybody was terrified of him. If you see me walking him, a lot of people would cross the road because
Yeah.
naturally they have that fear factor. The police use them, everybody's petrified of them, and losing him, mate, was a big part of my prep plan gone, because every now and again at night time you could sleep and he would hear everything. He would hear a mouse fart, like he was brilliant. So in that situation, mate, dogs for me and for cats, like Bryce said, with the rodent problem, would be worth the weight in gold. I used to prep for him anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have a year's worth of dry food on hand for him anyway. So for me, it would have been that they're a gold mine for anything. Like you say, even if you just want them used for, like Barry said, for early detection, even if you have a little yappy thing, and that's that champ, it's going to alert you to something that's there, whether that be good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, there's people that have resorted to measures like eating things they shouldn't eat and drinking things they shouldn't eat is going to produce a lot of waste and bodies around. Any considerations for clearing that up or keeping that sanitary?
That's a week one problem you're going to need to have sorted on week one, because people will have died, like it or not. So you're going to have to broach difficult subjects like that. They're going to need to be outside your perimeter, like it or not. And you're going to be able to you're going to have to safely be able to get them there. But sanitation, personal hygiene, it needs to be rubber stamped and reinforced all the time. Just because we're low on water, we'll still have grey water, rainwater. You've got to keep clean.
Yeah.
Because it could drag you down, your community down. But disposal of bodies is a subject that's going to be a day one, a week one problem. You need to sort out.
Yeah, maybe on a smaller scale, but like as you get further on, 30 days in, we're talking on a mass scale, right? Depending on where you are. Barry, any considerations for this? How it could be dealt with where you are?
Yeah, there's a local golf course, and obviously the sand bunkers and everything there would be relatively easy to dig into. So long as they're a couple of feet down and the graves are marked that there's a body there, then that's where they're going to end up.
Make an interesting golf course afterwards. Andy, it's just you two, obviously, in the house, but smells will start to drift, and if neighbours are involved and stuff like that, any thoughts of clearing them away from the immediate area in your different ranges?
Well, if we're at the month point, mate, and it's as bad as the intro that Miss Worm just did the talk over for there, I've got I'll do same as Brian, mate. Then I would have to, after a month, I would have to start forming community, or at least looking at putting a group together. And I've got primary and secondary location. So I've got a TA base, which is maybe 800 meters from me. That's my primary one, because that's where I work out of now as well. So I know the location, scoped out, plenty of grassland and fields for growing stuff, plenty of accommodation for everyone, perimeter fence secure. That would be obviously primary, and then secondary is maybe about 200 meters from me. I've got a Premier League rugby stadium, Newcastle Falcons. So that would be my secondary one. Plenty of accommodation, plenty of buildings. So those two, mate, I would start. And I don't really class that as bugging out, mate, because it's still in my area. It's still within, a stone's throw of my house. So that, mate, after a month, that would be my main push. Would be starting to put a group together, seeing what everyone's skill set is, seeing what you would bring to the group, and then pushing on from there.
So you'll be literally looking to start building that community at this stage rather than the early stages. I mean, how are you going to approach people at that stage would be my question. I mean, initially Brian's approaching people and they're seeing him and other people like bringing food in. So it kind of like sells itself. If you're a month down the line, the people that have survived up to now are either on death's door or they are quite prepped themselves. So how are you going to approach them for that?
Well, if they're prepped themselves, the idea of a fellow prepper coming to them, saying, let's start a homesteading community, prepping community, I would imagine is probably quite high on their list. And they probably wouldn't take much convincing. It would be the other people who, I still would have been checking in with them every other day, the people who were still in my community. So once again, and I would still be helping them out. I would be showing them how to grow their own food, helping them dig the trees. I'd be putting all the blocks in to build the community, so everyone has trust in me. Because what I don't want to do is from day 3 bring these people in the community, and then I find out that 90% of the people don't know how to do anything. Don't want to do anything. So I want that month buffer, so I know that people can survive a month on their own. So they have some set of fundamentals of how to survive, and then from there move forward with the community.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, at that stage, what's without obviously you got to think of your own OPSEC and stuff, but at that stage, have you got enough food still to offer out to distribute? Would it go communal? I mean, if you're moving locations, is there going to be a lot of stuff to move, or are you going to have to forage at this stage?
Where I live, and I'm taking it back to when we had one estate over, which is pretty much where that river is I was telling you about, which is a mile away. You go down there, mate, you can see deer down there. Now, when COVID was on and nobody was out at all, those same deer were in my estate. So I can imagine if a month's gone by, things like that would be more plentiful. There's a million things, mate, to forage around here, believe it or not. I know I say I live in Newcastle, but I'm kind of on the edge of suburban to rural. I don't know whether there's a word for that. So on one side of me, I'm maybe 6 miles from Newcastle city centre, and on the other side of me, I'm maybe 2 miles from Farmers Fields. So I'm in a pretty Goldilocks area, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
for pregnant related stuff. And I've also got, I grow stuff mate in my garden. I've got a pretty big garden, and my partner's got loads of things already growing. So if that was the case, mate, I would be even from week one, and with the old people, I would just be planting stuff for them. Well, I wouldn't be in that case, would it? 'Cause it'd be November, but you know what I mean? Like that would be my process moving forward.
Yeah. This one for around the table for everyone. What about rubbish building up due to no bin men? Burn it. Is that not a big signal flare to say, come and get our community?
It is, but it's a compromise between the effort to bury it and then the infestation of rats and vermin that comes with it. So,
okay, Barry, similar thinking.
Well, being as we've moved everybody sort of into a block of houses now, any rubbish that's starting to accumulate, rather than set fire to it just yet and take it down the other end of the estate and dump it down there, so it's well away from everybody else. That way the any vermin issues or anything are going to be contained down that end, and then the local cats and dogs can deal with any of that. So as of yet, I wouldn't start burning anything just yet.
Andy?
No, I'd burn it, mate.
You burn it?
I've got an incinerator bin yet. It's gone straight away.
Yeah. All his plates. I've run out of plates.
Yeah, all gone.
Do the washing up, no problem. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
It's something to bear in mind, though. See, when I'm saying burn it, the problem is fire's something you're not going to be able to get round of, because you're already going to have fire, you're going to have smoke, whether you want to or not. It's November. Cool. You're going to need heat. You might even need it to cook. So just light your fires the same time as you're cooking. Just burn the shit.
It's December now. It's December now. It's coming up to Christmas.
Just keep it in a separate location.
Aye.
Yeah.
Can I ask you all, before we go to the chat and then move the timeline along, what's your vehicle situation? Obviously, the pumps stopped working when the power went out. For generic, just go to the pump and fill up your vehicle. Some of us might have some supplies, obviously within the legal limits. But what's your vehicle situation? Are you even using cars and vehicles and vans and stuff like that at this stage, Brian?
After a month, I think with the deteriorating security situation and the amount of cars and shit that's probably on the road, I don't think many people are driving far at all. And you might be using them short distances within the village, but possibly even for large bulk water collection, even though it's only a quarter of a mile, it's labour saving if you've got the fuel to use to transport some 50-gallon drums of water up to a central point. But I don't think people will be going far.
And how would you source extra fuel, anything like that?
That's a 2 week ago problem. There's a petrol station 3/4 a mile up the road. It might be something you wish to sequester at the same time as you're confiscating some food from the local supermarket.
Yeah, but the pumps don't work.
Don't need the pumps to work, mate. just knock the tops off the vents and put some pipes down and siphon it.
Yeah. Barry,
put a pipe in.
Yeah. Barry, vehicle situation? Are you all on bicycles, or are you still using vehicles? What's the crack there?
We've got 2 household vehicles that we've got access to that have got the tanks filled up 95% of the time. We've got spare fuel as well. Fortunate enough to have a fuel station. Actually, I can just see it from here. So, trouble is it's on a main road. So to get any fuel from there has got to be done quietly. It's got to be done stealthily. There are another couple of locations where there are fuel stations nearby as well. But I think during the daytime, minimal use of our own vehicles. Use the smaller of the 2 for at night with the lights off. If the cloud's good and you can see reasonably, slow and steady in the vehicle if you've got to go anywhere. But other than that, the cars would stay put.
Yeah. Andy, are you using vehicles at this stage?
No, but no, I'm pure. I think I've said before on the Fireside, I'm all about bicycles. So we've got two hybrids, pretty much like your gravel bike, but with straight handlebars instead of the downovers. Like I say, mate, I can go for miles of them. I can fix whatever's wrong with it. To get to that stream, mate, it takes me 2.5 minutes, if that. On a bike, so I could be there and back, mate, in 5 minutes. They're quiet at night. No one can see you. No one can hear you. The only thing I would use cars for, mate, potentially, is to charge things up. So take my power bank if there was a car there, siphon the fuel off, bring it back, charge power banks up with it being winter and not get much solar. But that's what all I would use the car for. It wouldn't be to go anywhere or do anything. I'd do everything on my bike. Right.
Don't keep a bug out vehicle prepped just in case, no?
No.
Or is that what the bikes are as well?
I mean, I've always got stuff in the car. Like I've got a box in the car with all the stuff in, loads of stuff in that I would need. But I don't have like a dedicated like bug out thing for the car. It would just be on bikes, mate, if we had to go anywhere.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat then. German Shepherds never really sleep. Ears are always up, says Magic Acres. Yep. My mum had to eat her own pet rabbit for Christmas dinner in 1941. I mean, that's hard decisions territory, isn't it? Definitely. But I mean, this is why I've told. Well, Mrs. Urban Prepper's always asking for pets, and I said, yeah, no problem. You can have rabbits, the big ones, as many as you want, but don't get too attached. I survived a winter storm with no power for 2 weeks, no travel, no fire trucks, no water. People accidentally burnt their own homes, candles, and stoves. Yes, I mean, we talk about dysentery and stuff, disease and things like that, but Darwinism is going to get a lot of people. Genuinely. The first people that, when it hits the fan, they go, right, I could dress up in all my DPM prepper gear, and I've got the blade that goes into a mount right here on my neck that's really handy to grab and then put back in.
Don't forget the cardboard on your forearms to stop all the
But it's true. Have you seen the knives I'm on about where like they have it either on a strap here or they have it hanging around here? That's just itching for, oops, best call A&E. Oh, there is no A&E. Remember, rule number 1, any disaster scenario is don't die. So thank you for that. Ready Prepper 1 says, eating your pets after a month, there's something very wrong. You can pack enough food in one carrier bag to last a month. We know this. But there is many people out there, and I know people, you can go look in their kitchen cupboards and you can find some seasoning and maybe a Kit Kat, and that's your lot. So there will be people out there. Killer71, thank you very much. £10 super chat, really appreciate that. I think security will be a big issue. There will be hordes of gangs / raiders everywhere. Not very remote. Will be a nightmare, in my opinion, my honest opinion. He's right. We haven't kind of got the wilderness that a lot of countries have got. So even in Andy's semi-rural location, you're going to see people. People are going to pass by. It's going to happen, So yeah, security is a massive consideration. Unfortunately, we probably can't go into security as in depth on YouTube as we'd like to. Good reason to join the Discord, guys. Plenty of men with families in the street will be willing to form a very local group, then start bartering and working together to protect a zone. I think you'll find people quite receptive to it. I think Brian said it best, that it's not necessarily a person, but people want to follow an idea. That's right, Brian, you said?
Yeah.
People will follow an idea, even if it's a bad idea, because other than that, they're sheep and they'll be wandering about. Do you know the biggest takeaway for the power failure in Spain was how quickly people lost their minds because they had no form of news?
The lack of information is a big one.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can provide them direction and something to do, 90% it's won.
Yeah. Kurz 10 said, great live stream panel and people in the chat so helpful, with a £10 super chat as well. What's going on? We like get £2 super chat once every blue moon on Prep. Everyone's just, it must be payday. Thank you, everyone. It's really appreciated.
Because you've got me and Barry and Andy here as the eye candy.
Oh, right. Okay. That's what it is. That's what it is. When it's me on my own, you know.
Just wait till I bring out the Chewbacca chest wig and bring in the big money.
Oh, we've just lost 27 viewers. Can you stop that, please? Let's move time along. I know we're going to do big chunks here, but we don't want this to go on to like a 4-hour thing. So we're going to move time along quite quickly now and see what's going on at the 3-month mark.
3 months after the event, winter hits hard. Without electricity or gas, heating is scarce. Towns burn wood, scavenging anything combustible. Respiratory illness and hypothermia claims lives, and the old diseases return. Preppers' stockpiles dwindle faster than expected. Crops fail and vermin increase. Mice and rats are in the stores. Fuel for vehicles runs dry. Bicycles and carts become primary transport, and horses, once a nostalgic hobby, are reclaimed as vital assets.
So there we go. It's looking bleak. But Andy's all right. He's already way ahead of you all on the bike front. Prepper stores is probably the key point I want to take from this, because there's a kind of, as much as I encourage anyone to do whatever they can, if you've got a week's worth of supplies, you've got a week's worth of grace, you know, and you're prepared for a minor blackout or something like that. So I'm not slating anything, but many preppers are fully reliant on the supplies. And no matter whether you've got a month, 6 months, or a year, as soon as the event happens, you're on a countdown. And many things can affect that countdown. Brian, supplies are good. You've pooled quite a bit, but they are going to start to go down at this stage. You've already talked about speaking to the farmer, but it's a terrible winter. This is going to be a really hard time to endure these next couple of months. What could you put in place now?
From the start, hopefully the farmer and some decent animal husbandry has given us some options in terms of food. Foraging, trapping, local streams, shit, even birds, anything to supplement your food stocks. Unfortunately, because of when it's hit, nobody's grown anything. Unless you want to start rigging up a polytunnel over there's a couple of AstroTurf pitches there. You could possibly rig up some sort of polytunnel and greenhousing thing. That's actually not a bad idea, actually. So that's something for the future.
This is what it's all about. If you get one idea from the fireside, it's been worth it, right?
So, because of the growing season and the time, that's actually not a bad shout. Perhaps some sort of greenhousing, polytunnel construct you could put into place. Raised beds, polytunnels.
You could potentially use some of them outer houses that have already been abandoned as well.
Yeah. The food's going to be an issue because you're not growing much. The other thing is you've probably lost a few people along the way as well, so there'll be less people eating it. The horses, I don't think people are riding horses. I think people have eaten the horses by now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or attempted to anyway, eaten a part of it and wasted most of it because none of them know how to do butchery. Barry, supplies are pretty much everything that you've stockpiled over the last few years are dwindling, practically going. And there's crops are failing, the homegrown gardens, stuff like that. What can you do at this stage? How do you prepare for this winter that is already upon you?
As I've said, I'm sort of monitoring the supplies as we're sort of going along. So maybe a week or so ago, I'd have probably put in place by now that we're going to have to cut rations down to, maybe half, something like that. Keep people on full rations that are doing heavy grunt work, etc. Brian's idea about the polytunnel is an excellent one. Where we are, a lot of the houses are separated by the kind of fence panels you can lift out. So all those fence panels will be out, and the whole of the back row of a block of houses will be turned into one big garden, with as much of that covered as possible to form some sort of polytunnel or greenhouse. An excellent idea by Brian on that one.
Yeah.
Local farms, they've probably been pretty much stripped bare by now, I would imagine. There won't be many houses local that's got any food worth going and collecting. There'd be scavenger teams being sent out further and further afield, doing it sort of, town block by town block, mark them all off on a map, what's been checked, what hasn't been checked, and just systematically start going around scavenging for extra food.
Yeah. Andy, same situation, food. What's the plan?
I would have been, and I'm on the extreme side of this, but I would have been the wall foot mate from month one. Like that, my rationing would have been well in effect from then. At this point, mate, I would either be, I think at the 6 month point, I would either be in that TA base, or would be in the I'd be in the rugby stadium.
For argument's sake, let's say you're in the TA base. You've managed to plant some stuff, but this winter is the crops are failing. That's what the situation is at the moment.
Well, I'm only, mate, on my bike. I'm only half an hour away from the coast, so a lot of my stuff, mate, would now be fishing, and I've got a lot of fishing kit here. So for me, mate, it would be a case of 3 or 4 of us are going down. We'll take take your 72-hour bag, whatever it would be, and we would head down to the coast, head half an hour away on the coast, stay there for 2-3 days, get fish, bring it back. That would be my primary one. That would be the easiest way and quickest way for me to supplement food to keep people going.
It's a great way, and I'm surprised it took this long for fishing to be mentioned, because it is a great source, especially if you've got rivers near you. It's really good. Even if you've not got much fishing knowledge, you can get traps and stuff like that, and there's lazy ways of fishing in that way, so you can do your research on that. Would leaving traps there, leaving nets out there in that location be an option, Andy?
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. And I think as well, mate, like, moving forward, mate, everything that's banned now, hunting wise or fishing wise, would be fair game. So you could do whatever you wanted to get fish, to get animals, and everything, mate, would be fair game. So that would be my first pot of call, mate, my primary plan. My plan A would be fishing at the coast. Yeah.
Brian just held up. Do you want to hold that up again there, Brian? So Brian just held up one of these. These are fishing nets. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them all over the place. I picked them up at car boot sales. They're at car boot sales a lot. Does that have the weights on as well, Brian?
You can add the weights. This one, it's the trap one where they flow on one side and then they can't get out. So fishing for me would be a passive activity. It's no labour intensive. Either use some gill nets, direct them with stones towards it, or these traps, and then forget about it and come back a day or two. But these are pennies. I've got a box of them.
Yeah. And it's think of it as like passive income in the SHTF world. It's if it catches something while you've still got reserves, you should be using that anyway and keeping the reserves as exactly what they are. Is anyone still looking at scavenging at this stage, going further afield, driving out and doing recce's that way? You're nodding, Barry. What kind of place? Supermarkets are going to be rinsed, obviously.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm fairly close enough to quite a few large housing estates. There's a couple of shopping centres as well. There's some distribution warehousing as well. Basically, I'd be looking to go those first, houses, and then just travel further and further afield. Just sort of like stay local to start with. and then just keep working out, and working out. Keep going that way.
Yeah, yeah. Brian, any supply runs looking for anywhere else for actual supplies?
There's a problem with that. And there's a big problem with that. The further you push your perimeter and you're sending out your scavenging, it would be naive to think you're the only little established mag or community that's doing the same.
Oh, of course, yeah.
At some point, the two will meet. If the right people in both parties meet, you might have an ally. If somebody has an itchy finger on their crossbow, shotgun, whatever it is they're playing with at that point in time, you could have a very early stage war, or your party just might never come back. You don't know.
Risk versus reward, right? It's always going to be risk versus reward. Andy, you were nodding for that as well. Where would you be looking? I mean, it's good that you're going out to the coast anyway, because you'd check things along route. But with supermarkets and shops and the obvious places being cleared out, where would you be looking?
I would go, mate, street to street. Originally, like say, if people are, and I'm assuming that the people not like us, not people like in the chat. So if you're moving at 10 minutes notice to go to your family somewhere else, you're not going to be able to take everything just naturally. You're going to pick and choose. So a lot of stuff, mate, is going to be left behind. So I would literally go street to street.
So you're looking at housing.
Yeah, predominantly, mate. Yeah, and I would just work my way out, mate, in 100-meter concentric circles, and I just do 100-meter ring. Once that's totally cleared, next 100 meters, and I would just keep working my way out, mate, until it was far enough where I was thinking that the risk's not worth the reward.
There's lots of considerations with this for anyone else listening. We'll go to the chat on it shortly as well, but the less obvious ones, well, they are obvious to people like us, but not to the common people. And depends how quickly everything else hit the fan. The distribution centers, logistics centers, stuff like that. General factories that might produce something that's nothing to do with food could have a canteen. Many big factories and facilities have canteens. They have catering size cans of stuff in there. So there's things you can look at. If you're near the coast, like Andy, any boat that's there that's not being used, the ferry that's not been used for the last 3 months, will have lifeboats on. Lifeboats will have emergency supplies in. So there's all sorts of little things you can look at when the supermarkets are empty. Let's go to the chat because I'm well behind.
I think somebody said as well in the chat, Mike, about pharmacies. There for me, mate, I would hit them over food. Like if it was in the first week and people going, I know would be, but it's first 2 weeks people started looting. That's what I would hit first.
I think once we were without rule of law, that would be one of my high priority lists.
Yeah, that would be my number one. That's where I would go.
Yeah, but again, something you can think outside of the box of, like other facilities that have medical facilities might carry stuff, especially, I mean, God forbid, like you need insulin and stuff like that. You know, you're going to have a battle for doing that on your hands from the very start. So yeah, big consideration there. And why is that not working? Everything's broken. My brother recently got a BioLite stove. He said it's decent for generating a small amounts of power. I've looked at them. I quite fancy one of them, but I don't think I'm going to pay the price tag until somebody sends me one for free. Vehicle situation is a good idea to have motorcycle and bicycles. I have both for this reason. A van or a car can be used with the group you have formed. Yeah, motorcycles and bicycles, it's going to be, especially if there's lots of abandoned vehicles on the roadways and stuff like that, it's a big consideration. You could buy a liquid transfer hand pump for around £20. There you go. So, I mean, that's nothing for a prep to have at the side, save sucking on a hose pipe. Not as a hobby, Brian, just for filtering fuel I'm talking about. Is it worth buying some cheap imitation police lights for the top of a car? People might think it's the authorities and stay away.
That's something to talk about.
Okay. Talk about it.
See, when you've got your little group or your little village or whatever, it's not out with the realms of possibility that somebody's got police uniforms and they turn up in a group allegedly to confiscate or gather things on the pretext of being from authority, and they may well not be. So that's when you're going to need to start looking at: do you have your warrant cards? Are you actually police officers?
But even if they actually are, you still don't know if they're there on any sort of authority. I think even the film Homeland touched on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a big dilemma.
Mhm.
At what point do you say? I mean, if you've got 10 people turn up in police uniforms and say we're here to search your homes and confiscate to distribute to the needy, and you go, no, you're all fake, fuck off, and there's or bugger off, and there's a big conflict, and then there's lots of legitimate authorities do turn up, you're in the crap. So it's, if they've all got warrant cards and some vestige of authority, that's a problem. It's a quandary you're in. If only one of them's got a card or none of them, then I'd be more inclined to tell them to disappear.
Yeah.
That was a good point, Suburban.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, personally, I don't think I'd stick anything that lights up on my car by this stage. I think it'd just be drawing attention. But it's definitely a good point that people could do that, take advantage of that situation, and I'm sure it will happen in places. Every village will have a security group, says Band again. It is the start of the warlord nation. Dave's Underground Nation. Do you remember? You can build hotbeds to grow earlier or into winter, says Raven Blackwing. Mike, you're not prepping at 3 month stage. You're actually living it now. Yes, I know. Thank you for that, Mel. I highly recommend anyone considering fishing or trapping to get the gear and more than what you need. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like Brian says, if it's something like the nets that you can get for pence, why not have a stack of them? Even if you only use one at a time, if one fails, at least you've got backups there, contingencies and backups. Right, let's move on. The clock. What did we just do? We just did 3 months, didn't we? So we're going to skip to the end, basically.
1 year later, a fractured Britain. The United Kingdom is no longer united. Instead, warlord zones emerge in urban ruins, controlling scraps of remaining tech and supplies. Nomadic bands roam, scavenging, trading, or raiding. Those who relied only on stockpiles, without community or skill sharing, find themselves vulnerable. But it's not all bad news. Self-sufficient villages thrive in isolated regions, using permaculture and traditional crafts. Preppers who adapted, learning to grow food, repair tools and work with others, survive.
It's me! I survive! Yay! You're all dead.
When did you turn into flamboyant, Mike, in the apocalypse? When did that happen?
It was
Did
the
you have to
swagger.
do things to survive?
That wasn't a swagger. That was because of how many steps were inside that bunker, and I was just like aching by that point.
I thought it was another reason you were walking like that, but I don't want to go into that.
I did have a bad curry the night before, so we won't talk into that. Mrs. Urban Prepper says hi as she walks past. So yeah, a year on, there's not really many questions at this stage because we're a year on. You're either there and carrying on and not going. What I will say is thank you to ChatGPT, because they pulled up the key points, and this is what AI thinks how it will pan out. This is not exactly how I think it might pan out, or Brian, or anyone in the chat, or anything like that. It's what AI, based on doing the research across all different sites, that's what they've come up with. So I want to go around and ask some fundamental questions here now to bring it all back to prepping, if I can. Realistically, Brian, people eating each other on day 3 or slaughtering cows and sheep on day 4 is just, it's clickbaity. We've seen it, and we've had power outages in this country in the last year or so that have lasted more than a week for somebody. What's the tipping point? What's the? Is it the lack of information?
Yes, that. What surprised me, everything we've spoke about tonight and gamed out and done previously, I'm pretty comfortable with the timelines. But what blew my mind last week was how quickly people lost their minds on one day, purely because of the lack of any information. If your town, village, district's got a power cut, you'll know eventually by different methods and means that it's not everybody. But they had nothing. They had no idea. They had no clue. And then what they did know was scraps of the whole country's bollocks down in other countries. And people lost their minds on day one. That really surprised me.
Does it affect the way you prep, do you think, or the way you'll approach it if it happens here?
No. But I think you need to be fluid in your situation, because what you plan and hope will happen, hopefully nothing, ever, incidentally, it's got to be fluid. It's got to be adaptable. You might have to adjust your timeline. You might be able to extend it. You might need to shorten it. But have a plan and be prepared to modify that plan on the fly.
Yeah. Barry, if the lights come back on day 3, do we feel a bit silly, or did we do everything right anyway, just in case?
No, I think we did everything right from straight one. I mean, that's why we prep, for the eventuality that either it's going to be a short-term issue, which we can quickly deal with and nobody's none the worse, or it does develop into something a lot more serious. And then, like I say, again, we've prepped for it. And as Brian says, we will adapt as best we can on the fly as we go, and we'll survive.
But Andy, when it comes to the timelines of this, do you see it? I mean, you were quite quick to jump. You kept saying that, like, you're the more extreme point of view. I mean, do you think that would be the case in a real life situation if it was something like Storm Ewan, where it's knocked your power out? So it's not necessarily a grid down complete collapse, but your power's out. Is it a completely different situation, or are you on similar timelines?
No, I think it's completely different, mate. Like Storm Ewan, because like Brian said, mate, the cause of what the power outage is. So relatively, even if it's 2 weeks, mate. In that case, that things, and obviously Storm Ewan's coming. Emergency services have things put in place to cover the 2 weeks, so that what's coming. Like Brian said, mate, it's the lack of telling people what happened in Portugal that sent people spiraling. And when the people who were there to look after you don't know, that's when people panic. So the police didn't know what was wrong. Paramedics didn't know what was wrong. Fire brigade didn't know. So if the people who it's their job to know don't know, of course people are going to spiral. And I think the lesson to learn off that, mate, is a get home bag is probably the most thing that people need. Don't go bag, because 9 times out of 10, like happened to them people, it's going to be on a random Tuesday at midday when you're at work. It's always going to be, mate, the last place you want to be is when something will happen. So if all those people, mate, had a get home bag, their lives would be infinitely
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'd recommend that's one of the first preps you kind of get, is having something. I mean, even non-preppers that I know have a couple of cans and a tin opener and a blanket in the car or something like that in case they get stuck in traffic. It's not necessarily a get home bag, but it shouldn't. You definitely don't want to be caught short, because it's never going to happen, on a 8 o'clock on a Sunday when you're all getting ready for fireside, sat in your home, surrounded by your preps. That's not when it's going to happen. It's going to happen at the worst possible time. Information seems to be the key. I think we've all got that down. And we can learn a lot from Spain. Did it surprise you, Brian, how quickly water was cut off there?
Not really. No.
Depends
the area you're in. If you're fortunate enough, you're in a low-lying area and you've got, like, the old reservoirs, you'll see them on legs and it'll be gravity fed, then you might have some water. But if you're in an area that's relying on pumping stations to create the flow, you're pretty much bollocks. And it depends on the infrastructure that's in place. Have they got standby generator sets and things?
Mm-hmm.
And then, as we've seen with recent events, standby generators aren't kicking in. They've got service contracts in place with companies that say they work, but when push comes to shove, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there something sinister about the lack of information, do you think? Think them cutting the information off and not telling people and not reassuring people? It added to the panic, but why?
Even if they did know, see, it's a double-edged sword. We live in an information overload world. You're getting bombarded by your phone, by text messages, WhatsApp, Discord, the TV, tablets, your radio in your car, all day, every day, 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it's gone. Like a switch, it's gone. And if you've got a cough, you're Googling the symptoms. You haven't got a throat infection or a raspy cough. You've got stage 4 cancer or TB. And that's human nature. They didn't, most people in that situation, because the information overload was cut off, they went straight to, oh, I've got stage 4 cancer, as in the whole country. Chinese whispers kicks in. There's other countries. Oh my God. And that's what went wrong.
Yeah.
I think.
Andy, do you think adding to that panic of no information is because of the state of the world at the moment? Like, because obviously the instant thoughts, and obviously we saw thumbnails appear straight away of under EMP attack and stuff like that. Do you think the state of the world at the moment exacerbates that? We no longer have that blitz spirit and that community spirit?
Yeah, definitely. I think like Brian said, mate, every single day now pretty much hear about Trump, don't you? And Zelensky and Ukraine and peace deals, and everyone's going to be hit with a nuke. So if you're getting bombarded with that every single day and you still watch mainstream news every day, then you're going to be, naturally, you're going to be more reading, your psyche's going to be in a certain place. So if your entire country is in a blackout, naturally, your brain is going to figure, well, they were talking about this last week, now we've got no electricity. The government aren't telling me anything. The police aren't telling me anything. And 2 and 2 makes 5. And instantly they assume the worst.
Yeah. At least we know in the UK the blackout would be a Miliband event. Excellent, Anthea. Excellent. Love it. Let's have a look in the chat while we're there. Watchman says 1 year later, out comes Lucille. Mike, people are already stealing sheep, says Jay. That's just in Wales for pleasure. Sorry, Taffy Nige. Sorry. We haven't had a whole country grid down for a week. Look at the panic in Spain. Anyone without food but with weapons will be looting within days and hunting as soon as the shops are empty.
I don't think so.
It's difficult because I get why that mentality's there and desperation kicks in quickly, but there's a lot of people that will just think, we'll be fine, or somebody else will help, or I'll go to the neighbors and stuff like that. Realistically, in this country, I want a day's figure off everyone here. How long before people are thinking about looting and hunting? If that's 2 separate days, that's fine. What are you thinking, Brian? 3 days. Hunting or just looting?
Looting.
Yeah. And what about slaughtering Daisy?
To be honest, most people wouldn't know what to do. Anyway, it's like we've spoke about before. They wouldn't be thinking about slaughtering sheep. They'd be stealing a 75-inch TV to take home to sit in the dark. Right? That's what they would be doing.
Yeah. What your kind of days are you thinking on that, Barry?
A week onwards, I would say.
Yeah.
About a week onwards.
Yeah. Andy, your thoughts?
What, for looting? For looting, mate, I'm saying 24 hours.
Really?
But it will be for the things that Brian was saying. It'll be for TVs
and
trainers,
Xboxes and
be,
trainers.
Yeah,
Greg's.
Yeah, Greg's, yeah. But in terms of, yeah,
they don't mean you're looting. They mean like other people.
I would be mate. As soon as the lecky went off, I'd be straight to Costco. Costco would be getting unloaded. But in terms of animals and stuff, mate, I don't think people understand how hard it is to hunt anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not taking down a deer or anything with any relative ease, pretty much in the UK, unless you've done it before. And in terms of farm animals, like Brian said, they're not going to know what to do with it anyway. And also, mate, if you think you're just going to rock up to a farm and the farmer's just going to let you take his sheep or his cow, you've got another thing coming. So
there's only one thing getting executed that day, and it's not a sheep. I just think, I do believe that a lot of communities will come together. Genuinely, I have optimism that a lot of communities will come together. And as much as the media paints out Spain and they will show you the empty shelves and they'll show you the one shop that was charging €10 for a bottle of water, they won't show you that somebody in a community had a load of water and give it all away to their friends and looked after them and came round and practically had a street party to feed the streets. They don't show you the good news stories. And I think we'd get a lot of that. Do any of you agree with me that if it's within the first week or so, we're still getting sort of drips of information. They're trying to work on it. They're trying to fix it, etc. You know, it's not like you've seen police cars flying past with burning bodies hanging out. It's just no power. Yeah. Do you agree with me that there is community spirit? Everyone's not going to go completely Mad Max.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Straight away. Sorry, Brian, first.
No, sorry.
Yeah. Like you say, community will come together to start with, but I think after you've gone a week, 2 weeks, some communities will break down, but other communities will get stronger. You know,
that's the start of your community, your mag, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, bring in the people that you need as best as you can, and just take it from there. Yeah,
Brian, you were going to say?
I've lost track of thought now.
Sorry, Brian.
No, you're all good. No, I've lost it. Don't know what it was. What was the start of the conversation?
Just about the communities coming together, and would there be more like in this country? People would actually come together and come out and.
Thinking about what happened during COVID, people were generally happy, smiley in the first couple of days because they had the nervous laugh. They didn't know what was happening properly.
Mm-hmm.
They were locked in, but when they could get out for 5 minutes, they were happy to see people. The sun was shining. It was great.
Yeah.
But that disappeared pretty quickly, and it would disappear even quicker in this situation. And that's when I think you would need to offer some sort of guidance, build some sort of community. Otherwise, things will go to shit pretty quickly.
Yeah. Andy, do you think we've got any of that community spirit left? Do you think people will come out and help each other? I know the mainstream media likes to paint Spain and Portugal like, it was the end of the world, and that's all we see of it unless we're actually there. You've got to search for good news stories, but they were there. They were happening. There was whole villages that were helping each other,
I think that's the key word, mate. If you live in a village or you live somewhere like Brian, where people know each other and you have a bit more sense of community spirit, that would happen. I think the closer you start drifting towards a city centre, that erodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I've lived here, mate, now 6 years, and I know all of my neighbours, and that's because they're older people. So I talk to them all, the more willing to engage. The people that moved into me next door moved in 18 months ago. I don't think I even know the names. They don't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
The kids. So I think, like I said, mate, if you live in a village or that type of setting where you know each other and you just pull together a bit more, I think that you've got more chance of that community lasting. But the closer you get to a city centre, mate, everyone's so individualistic and focused on themselves. That community spirit, mate, doesn't really exist in a city centre.
No, yeah, I find that in an urban environment, I hardly talk to any of my neighbours other than a passing hi, and yeah, it's made me reassess a lot of things. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's completely different depending on the culture of the immediate area you're in. And we think the lack of information is the key here, right? Somebody said there about the during the Blitz, London got shut down often, never went full Mad Max. But again, there wasn't that lack of information, right? It was communicated what was going on. People knew what was going on. So, Portugal had street lights at night and some bars because of solar. I saw officers that were letting people in, coming in, sitting on the roof garden, all having a drink and stuff like that. Somebody mentioned the trains there. I saw a similar story where the train had stopped and people had to get out, but the people who lived locally were coming, helping them, feeding them and stuff like that. It does happen. And I think we should take everything with a pinch of salt, especially when we do a scenario like this. I don't want, the power to go off tomorrow and everyone start sharpening their blades and getting the gorilla boxes out, So, community is key. And I think that's what we try to build here as well with this community for information. So, with that said, we've been going 2 hours. 226 people in here. Hopefully we've got 226 likes. I don't know. I can't see it. I'll go around the table and let the guys all introduce their channels. Before they do that, I haven't got the video on here or anything. I want to mention, because I've been told I have to promote it in the firesides by somebody because they just want to see my legs get waxed. That I'm doing a charity cycle at the end of this month. We're literally not far away from it now, 243 miles from Lancashire up to central Scotland. Everything that's coming with me on the bike trailer is what I'm going to be living off, sleeping on, etc. No hotels along the way, no 5-star accommodations. It's a bug out challenge for me, and it's all for Help for Heroes. Great charity, supporting our veterans, the support that they don't get that they should. So, yeah, raising money for that. Just Giving links and everything is in all my videos. And you can also donate via the PayPal. And everything that you've donated today through this fireside as well and through the channel will be going into the pot as well. So thank you for that. Everything that the channel raises throughout May will go to Help for Heroes. So hopefully we can smash that target and do that. So thank you for your time on that. That's all I'll say. Brian, tell us all about Scottish Prepper 73.
Finally, the workshop's built, and it's more or less. I know it's been a while. I can start doing videos again properly. It's been longer than I thought, so I'll be doing videos on some power banks. I need to review some long life food from the States that I bought in, and also I'll do a build video on the shed, the workshop, the solar panel system. And also the upgrade to the house, new batteries, new inverter, solar panels. So I've got some videos still to come out. I just haven't had time.
Apparently, I can sleep in Brian's shed. I think by the time I cycle to Brian's house, I think it's going to be downhill to my goal. So I won't be stopping at that point. I'll be like, he'd be trying to hold me a Pepsi on the side of the road. I'll be like, no, I'd rather suffer.
Take the scented juice. Take it.
Barry, how's the technical issues going? What's happening with Brown Coat Prepper UK for people to go over and subscribe to your channel?
Do you know what? I've got so much stuff I want to stick out there on YouTube land, but unfortunately,
Brian, but there's restraining orders.
I know, yeah. But me and technology were like that. There is stuff ready to be put out there, but I'm still having issues with it. But there is stuff coming. Promise, hand on heart. It's basically from a novice prepper's point of view, getting started, basics, equipment, that kind of thing. Whereas you're looking at like Brian, who's the next level up and beyond. So yes, I'm praising you, Brian. Don't look away. Yes. So yeah, that's it. I'm a novice prepper doing a novice prepper thing.
Excellent. So make sure you go and subscribe to Barry's channel, because when he does figure out how it all works, all the videos will go up at once. Andy, we've had a name change.
Yes, we have a name change.
Tell us all about that, and tell us about the Bombardier.
So the people in the chat probably knew me as Alpha Kilo Prepper for a while, and originally that was just my initials, like the phonetic alphabet. So Andy, then my middle name begins with a K. But then I didn't want. Then I started getting too much of it, and I started thinking, do people think I'm saying I'm the Alpha Prepper, which is definitely not the vibe I want to bring. So then I started to switch it. So then I was talking to the guys in the Discord, and then everyone was saying, well, why don't you lean into the military side a bit more? So then I did, and so that's where the Bombardier name came from, with the vote from the guys. So that's how the name change happened. Bank holiday tomorrow, so I'm hoping to get those videos edited and get put out tomorrow. So someone asked me to do one about conscription. What would I take? The bits and pieces of kit. I've got some of those Frey Bentos pouches. I've done a video on them. In my
They're
Jeff Wells,
£2 at the
they're
moment, I think.
Yep,
in,
mate, I got some for B&M, yeah. I've got a video done on the review of the OEX Fox one-man bivvy, and I've got some other videos already done of some other bits of kits and equipment that I think people would find handy. So tomorrow, mate, I'm hoping to get them all edited and then get them uploaded on YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah. Excellent. So make sure you subscribe to The Bombardier and see Andy's videos coming tomorrow. And next week, when he's not done the videos, we'll grill him and ask him why. I'm going to message him tomorrow. And have you done the videos yet? And if you enjoyed our voiceover today, similar to this,
ding dong,
and you want to hear more of Miss Worm, go and check out Miss Worm's channel, where she'll read you some stories. And she's also a published author with her own book as well. So make sure you check that out. Look at that. I'm prepared. On Amazon as well. She does all the... I like to say she does all the moderating, but there is other moderators there, but she does moderate the moderators as well. But she's does it all out the kindness of her heart, helps us run the UK Prepper Network as well, and an absolute invaluable asset. So thank you, Miss Worm, for all you do. Go and show your love and appreciation to her channel as well. That's in the chat. That's it, gents. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made a few people think. I know Brian at least got one idea through this whole thing, so it's been worth it. Would you like to say any final thoughts and goodbyes, Brian?
No. Brilliant.
No.
Thanks. Happy to see everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Nah, as always, Sunday night, really good numbers. Really appreciate people taking the time to dial in and listen to our drivel. And we're all learning. As you put ideas in the chat, it makes us think. So thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Barry, would you like to any final thoughts and goodbyes? Don't say no like Brian did.
Yes. Thanks to everybody in the chat for their input. There's been some great ideas floating about there as well. And again, with you guys as well. Thanks for having us on your channel again, Mike.
Not a problem. Anytime. Andy, would you like to say any final thoughts and goodbyes to the peoples?
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. And thank you for... I've just seen a couple of things pop on my YouTube there saying that people have subbed to me. So thank you very much, guys. And I look forward to putting the videos out for you.
Yeah. Like I say, I mean, that's great to see. If you do nothing else, go and subscribe to these three guys and Miss Worm. They put their time in for this. All my support links are in all my videos. Don't worry about that so much. These guys put the time in and effort in on these firesides, and they deserve that kind of love as well. So make sure you go and do that. It's really appreciated. Random Warrior, last minute, with a £50 donation. Thank you very much. That is absolutely awesome. That'll go to the Help for Heroes funds. Really appreciate it. Please, if we hit that 2K and I've got to have my legs waxed on a live, it's not going to be good.
Cannot wait.
Oh, there's going to be so many memes. Thanks everyone for joining us. Don't forget, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that wonderful stuff the algorithm likes, and we will see you all on another fireside really soon. And here's the full tune, so we'll sit and listen to it.
Round the fire, warm and bright, stocked up food for the night. Got our plans set in gold for the days when it's cold. Tools and gear stacked up high in the cabin we reside, listening to the winds howl, prepping for the morning's prowl. At the Prepper's fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night. Water stored in jugs and tins, bunkered down through thick and thin. Maps and routes all drawn and laid, preppers live unafraid. At the prepper's fireside we stayed, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, round the fire every night. In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance, living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue. In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance, living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue.